birthday rally. I am so happy to be here. It's amazing that we've come 2 years. I remember 2 years ago, I gave my first tax day Tea Party speech at Richmond Tea Party. I got up on the stage. It was cold and raining, and we looked out onto the crowd, and there were 5,000 people that had turned out at Richmond Tea Party with their families and their children in the rain. And I was asked that day to give a speech on the debt. And they said, you know, you can give a speech as a mother of 3 children, what that means to the future of your children. And so I got up there to talk about, at the time, an $11 trillion debt. And I got up there and I took my 3 children with me, and they were each holding a dollar sign, a 1, and a 1, and then we had a gazillion zeros after that. I didn't have enough children. I didn't birth enough, so I had to bring others up onto the stage to represent $11 trillion and what we were leaving our children, an $11 trillion debt. And people ask me all the time, why are you running for the United States Senate? You know, I've been happy fighting this fight with Rita and others on the outside, exerting the pressure before even the Tea Party movement was around and holding people accountable. But the reason I decided to run for the United States Senate is because less than 2 years later, it hasn't even been 2 years, and the debt is $14 trillion. $14 trillion. Now, I know as Republicans, as patriots, as conservatives, as libertarians, wherever you fit in that mold, we're data people. We get it. The fastest growing part of our budget is interest on the national debt. It will quadruple in the next 10 years. In 3 years, the interest on the national debt will exceed all discretionary spending. All discretionary spending. We have the bond rating agencies constantly threatening us that if you do not get your fiscal house in order, you will lose your AAA bond rating. You think that quadrupling of the debt looks bad now? Wait till we lose our AAA bond rating. We have articles in prominent papers like the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and Reuters that are constantly talking about how we may one day not be the world reserve currency. That would have been considered insane talk 3 years ago. We have Russia and China talking about no longer trading in the dollar, but trading in the yuan and the ruble. I think we have a spending problem. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have a debt problem. What do you think?
Catastrophe.
I think Congress doesn't have the stomach to do what they need to do. What do you think? It has been absolutely amazing to me that the grand idea, the genius idea coming out of the midterm elections was that they were going to cut $100 billion. Now, we have a $14 trillion debt. We have a $3.6 trillion budget. We have a $1.6 trillion deficit, but we're going to cut $100 billion. And what did we end up with?
32.
Not 68.
Yeah, 38.
Not 38.
26.
A little over 300 million. We have got to send people up to Washington, D.C. who have the fire in the belly, don't mind rocking the boat, that will stand up to their party when necessary and say, we must cut the spending. We have got to cut the debt. And we need to send more people up to Washington, more of the Rand Pauls, more of the Marco Rubios, more of the Senator Mike Lees, more of the Allen West, up to Washington. politicians for 3 decades, and lobbyists, people that voted for all these big programs, that voted to raise the debt ceiling. Or we can send some Tea Party people up to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people, I think for all of us, when we got involved in the Tea Party movement, and I know for myself, there was a sense that America, the America that we've always known and I grew up in a military family, moved all over, grew up in West Germany during the Cold War, saw the West and East Berlin, visited the Jewish concentration camps, saw the horror of hatred and tyranny, came back to the United States and saw what freedom looks like. And I think that what we've seen, the reason people are rising up is because they feel that that America that they've always known is slowly being erased. And then a little bit faster, and then a little bit faster. And there was a disquiet that was settling over the country, that we didn't want to lose what we knew was great. What we knew and what we know is exceptional, which is the United States of America, the way it was founded by the Founding Fathers, by the United States Constitution. We will not let that go. But there was another element. We care and love for our country. But there was also this first-time experience that all of a sudden the Washington, D.C. that used to stay within that Beltway, the Beltway Club, could now find its way pouring across the Beltway and creeping into our homes. Because the decisions that they were making in Washington, D.C. were all of a sudden impacting our retirement accounts and my ability to go to Costco and buy goods and them being more expensive, and my ability to choose the health insurance that I want, or the cars. And all of a sudden, as a mom, having that feeling that government was coming into the four walls of my home, I didn't like it. And I think that's what we all saw in the Tea Party movement, is a spontaneous uprising of people that say, I love my country, and I love my freedom, and I don't need you to tell me how to do either.
That's right.
So apparently none of you got the news. You didn't get the bulletin from Washington that you all were supposed to disappear after the midterm election. I'll have to send you that memo. I guess you didn't get it. Because that's what was predicted to happen after the midterm elections. They'll die out. They'll lose their momentum. But what I see in Virginia and the Tea Party movement across the Commonwealth has been a maturing of the movement where we're becoming smarter. And we're figuring out how to advocate legislation and push legislation and go to our legislators, I saw Mark Obenchain here, or whoever, and say, here's the bill we want you to pass. And then ultimately, if you don't do what we want, we say, we'll throw you out and we'll put somebody in office who will represent our ideas. That's right. We cannot lose our momentum because the left is ever diligent in their progressive and socialist agenda. But I truly believe, in my gut, that we are more diligent for our freedom because we love our country, we love our families, and we will do whatever it takes, not to just assure their future, but to assure now. Because even now is unpredictable. So stay steadfast. We have an election next year not only for the United States Senate, but there's this little presidential election going on next year. And we have our work cut out for us. And one of the things that will make us powerful is the fact that we continue to engage people who have never been involved in the political process before, besides voting every 4 years. Keep reaching out, stay engaged, and let's continue the work. Thank you.